Okay, we welcome the Taoiseach and we move to Leaders' Questions under Standing Order 36 and I call Deputy Pearse. Doherty, please.
Taoiseach le gas seachtain rihin tan géir cim tíochta a gáil ó smach de gcónaí. Agus léiríonn an tuairis gáil císa is déanaí a dá sí Doherty ar máidin ghfuil an man cís a tá dhéarthar leis suasbag na dóiag fan géad ar fud an stage. Taoiseach, with every week that passes, the housing crisis continues to spiral out of control. Rents are rising, house prices are rising, social housing needs continues to grow. And the latest rental report published by Doherty this morning shows that the average asking rent is up by nearly 12% across the state, and 22 counties are seeing double-digit rent inflation. Rents are increasing by over 20% in counties Roscommon, in Leitrim, and in my own county of Donegal. The Consumer Price Index that was published this morning shows that the rent paid by all private renters, new and existing tenants, has risen by 9.3% in the past year. Now, this is madness, Taoiseach. By every meaningful measure, your government's plan in housing is failing and your Minister for Housing is failing. His latest plan is to give developers between €120,000 and €144,000 of taxpayers' money for each apartment they build. The Minister has said that the aim of this scheme is to enable affordability for people to be able to buy, and that the beneficiaries would be the public, who will now be in a position, he says, to buy apartments in city schemes. On the radio this week, your own Senator John Cummins claimed that this was a subsidy for the purchaser. But here's the reality. Here's the kicker, Taoiseach. The scheme that you claim is about increasing affordability explicitly rules out discount for purchasers. It's a big payday for developer, and there's zero, zilch, nada for those who want to purchase, those who are desperately seeking to purchase affordable homes in our city. It means that purchasers will still have to fork out between $500,000 and $600,000 and indeed above, because these apartments will be sold at market prices. So, Taoiseach, who on earth can afford these prices that are off the wall? Your scheme is certainly not about creating affordability for those on ordinary incomes. What is clear in relation to this scheme is that at best it's going to lock in sky-high, unaffordable prices, and at worst it will drive up housing prices even further, as developers will simply price in the subsidy. So of all the pro-developer schemes that you and your government have come up with, this one takes the biscuit. This is absolute madness. The big problem with your housing policy, Taoiseach, is that all of the measures that you've introduced so far are driving up the cost of homes. Is it any wonder that so many people have given up right across the city and beyond the city the aspiration of owning their own home? Now, you've said that you believe in home ownership. Well, you have a very funny way of showing it, because people are looking on at this latest scheme in complete disbelief. It is bonkers for you, for your government, for your Minister for Housing to be given €120,000 to €144,000 to developers for each apartment that they deliver, and not deliver any price reduction for home buyers, because that's what this is. So, Taoiseach, housing can be fixed, and this generation can have a real chance. But government, to do that, government needs to turn away from the policies that prioritise the profits of developers and finally put a focus on meeting the housing needs of ordinary workers and families. So let me put it to you this. Let me put it to you this morning that you should scrap the scheme of handing out €450 million to developers. And what about this for an idea? What about using that €450 million to directly deliver homes that people can actually afford to buy?
Thanks, Deputy. There can be no doubt that rents are too high in Ireland, that far too many people have to spend too much of their income on rent, often at the expense of other things. Saving to buy a house, perhaps paying into a pension fund or investing in their own education or that of their children. And it is a dual crisis. It's one of affordability and also one of availability. And sometimes when you try to improve one of those things, you can actually make the other one worse. And that's why we need to be very careful about the policy interventions that we make as a government. In terms of affordability, as you know, we've brought in rent controls for most renters. The maximum increase possible is 2% in any given year, much lower than the rate of inflation, which is running at around 6% now. And the DAFT report that you referenced acknowledges that. It says for stayers, people who've stayed put, on average have faced a 10% increase since 2017. So that's about a 10% increase over the course of the past 4 years. This is not my numbers. This is the DAFT report that you referenced. But obviously, a very different picture for new tenancies. A 38% increase in the last 4 years, and that's a reflection of the fact that so few homes and apartments are becoming available for the first time for rent. In terms of what we can do around availability, we can ramp up social housing, and we're doing that, and we can provide cost rental housing, and we're doing that. So in terms of social housing, we anticipate this year about 10,000 new social homes will be added to the housing stock. That's really important. It gets people off the housing list, but also frees up other properties then that people may rent or buy, and that can help a lot as well. And for the first time, although it did start before this year, but for the first time we're seeing cost rental becoming available for people as an option. And that's a very good option because it's government provided rental accommodation which people can then rent at a rent that is significantly lower than the market average. And that is becoming a reality for people now. It's been in the plans for years, but is very much an option now for people, and we need a lot more of that. I suppose what we have to do at this point is to consider what more we can do to improve the situation. It's very clear that small landlords are selling up and are leaving the market. I often hear you and others making out that they're making a killing. That's not the case. If that was the case, they wouldn't be selling up and leaving. And we have to look at ways to encourage small landlords to continue to rent out their properties, and maybe encourage others to rent out properties for the first time. We also need to scale up cost rental, something I'm a big supporter of, something this government is a big supporter of, providing more cost rental units for people to rent. We've set a target of at least 2,000 a year in terms of cost rental, and we believe that's achievable. We also need to increase the supply of homes for people to buy, and we're seeing some very good signs around supply. We'll hit about 25,000 new homes built this year. That's the highest in a very long time. 35,000 under construction, 45,000 going through planning permission at the moment. So an encouraging pipeline we can see coming through in additional supply. We need to do more to fast track the planning process, reform our planning laws to make sure that more developments don't end up stuck in judicial reviews. That's a big problem at the moment. And we have 2 affordable housing schemes coming on stream this year, one local authority led and one private sector led. And that will allow people on middle incomes to apply for affordable housing. And that, I think, will help a lot of people to buy their first home. In addition to that, of course, we have the Help to Buy scheme where people get their taxes back, income tax they paid for the past 2 or 3 years, something your party opposes. That's already helped 32,000 individuals and couples to buy their first home, people who otherwise might not be in a home and would still be renting. And I'd encourage you to end your opposition to that particular scheme.
Thank you, Taoiseach. Deputy.
Yeah, Taoiseach, how long are you in government now? Is it 10, 11 years? I know over that period that we've seen rents actually double since you've been sitting around the cabinet table. You were tweeting 2 years ago in relation to how the government policies were working. You said rents down, homelessness down, house prices levelling off, our policies are working. Well, let me put some facts here today, not Sinn Féin's facts, but the CSO's facts. In the last year, rents have gone up, new and existing tenancies, by 9.3%. Housing prices in the last year has gone up by 15%. In the last 2 years, the number of people in homelessness has increased by 15%. On looking at those numbers, your policies are failing. And the initiatives that you're bringing in, as we warn you time and time again, indeed some within your own department and other external agencies warn you, will increase house prices, will push up rents further. So this harebrained idea that you now have, or your Minister for Housing has, that you obviously support, about giving away taxpayers' money of $144,000 to developers to build apartments. But yet ordinary workers and families are going to be asked to fork out between 500 and 600,000 euro for those same apartments. How can you stand over a type of harebrained scheme such as that,
Thank you,
Minister?
Deputy Taoiseach.
Thanks very much, Deputy. This government has been in office for just over 2 years. That is a fact, Deputy, and I'll give you some more facts in a moment. This government has been in office for just over 2 years. The party that I lead has been in office for about 11 years. No party has been in government longer in this island than your party in the past 20 years. You've been in government in Northern Ireland for most of the past 20 years. And I'm very happy to compare our record in government over the past 10 years to that of your party. You're the party that put the rents up in Northern Ireland. You're the party that increased the property tax, which is the domestic rate system in Northern Ireland.
Please.
And you're the party that voted to increase the pension age in Northern Ireland.
The Taoiseach do it without interruption.
And anytime I tell you a few home truths about your party's record in government in Northern Ireland, you lose the rag. You absolutely lose the rag because you don't want people to know the truth, and that is the record of your party in Northern Ireland. Whether it's COVID, whether it's employment, whether it's poverty, you've only reasons to be ashamed of your party's performance in government.
Thank you very much. Please, Deputy. You're out of order,
Minister Pearse.
Deputy Doherty, resume your seat, please. Please resume your seat. Show some respect to the House. No, please, we don't want any points of order.